I was doing a personal branding exercise at LinkedIn. This is a really interesting exercise for anyone that's curious to know how you're perceived. So I went around and I just asked, give me 3 words that really describe me, that you think of immediately when you think of me. And every single person said the word passionate. And that was not really a word that I would have used to describe myself. I could see it in my new obsession with Heated Rivalry because in, I think, 48 hours, I had watched all 6 episodes twice. I read 2 books. It's really about coming forward and being who you truly are. And even though that can cause a lot of backlash, it's like, how brave do you want to be? What does your courage look like? And that is something that I just found so beautiful. So if you haven't watched it yet, I would highly, highly recommend it.
Big fucking dreams. All right then. You got this.
Hey, big fucking dreamers. So pumped to be here with you today. So today is going to be a bit more of a personal episode. I call these episodes Kiss and Tell. And I don't know if you guys will remember, but I decided that I wanted to make the majority of the Big Fucking Dreams episodes and the Hannah Hotline episodes evergreen, which means that I wasn't going to really give any personal updates. I'm not going to be commenting on things that are happening in time. I want people to be able to access them whenever they need them, almost as an ongoing resource. So I wanted to really group my personal updates for those of you that care about me and want to know a little bit behind the scenes into quarterly updates or bi-monthly updates whenever I really felt like I had something to tell you. So with that, just wanted to give you guys a few things that are going on in my life. And the first one is that I have a new life dream, life ambition, which is to become a gay NHL hockey player. Now, if you have no fucking idea what I'm talking about, then you clearly haven't watched Heated Rivalry, which is my new favorite show of all time. And a few years back, this was probably maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I was doing a personal branding exercise at LinkedIn. And I went around, and this is a really interesting exercise for anyone that's curious to know how you're perceived. So I went around and I just asked, I don't know, maybe it was like 20 people, friends, families, colleagues, but I just asked them, give me 3 words that really describe me, that you think of immediately when you think of me. And every single person said the word passionate. And that was not really a word that I would have used to describe myself so clearly, but that's clearly the way that I'm perceived. And what I realized is that I am a very passionate person, and I could see it in my new obsession with Heated Rivalry because in, I think, 48 hours, I had watched all 6 episodes twice. I read 2 books. I was like in a whole one weekend and just like in a Heated Rivalry days where I was like, I am now a gay NHL hockey player. And this is so amazing. And I didn't know this about myself. I was trying to distill why it is that I loved this story so much, besides just the hot hockey players, which if you haven't seen it and you want to go see some hotties, definitely watch it. But I think that from a literary perspective, and the books, you know, for my readers out there, the books they're not well-written books. Like, they're not literary at all, but they're definitely page turners, and the plot is really quick. And it's also just a really concentrated love story where even in the show, there's no B plot really. Like, the only B plot there is it really follows 2 couples, but really predominantly one couple. And then one episode veers to another couple that then comes back around. And it's just a very clean way of storytelling as well. And there's been a lot of jokes on the internet that like this is a show about gay hockey players, but there's actually no hockey in it. And it's really just so concentrated about 2 people's relationship and their relationship over time and the stress and the pressures that they face. But then ultimately, it's a story about really coming clean about who you are and really admitting to yourself like who you are, who you want to be, you know, what gender and sexuality looks like to you, more sexuality, less gender. And there's just such a clean concentration in the story. And I think as someone who's really trying to, right now, I'm probably in my fourth draft. I think I'm trying to do a structural edit on my own of this novel that I've been writing for a very long time. And it's not, when I read through this last draft, I was like, what is this story? Is this story like a mystery story? Is this story about a family drama? Is this story about two sisters? And so what I appreciated in Heated Rivalry was almost just like the cleanness and the integrity, that the story was just about this dynamic and it wasn't really about anything else. There aren't that many supporting characters. There are some, of course, but there's no like development really with them. There's no one else is really going through a character arc besides these two central characters. And I just really admire that in writing. It's something that I want to take with me as well, and something that I'm like very actively trying to work on. But then also these characters, which if you haven't seen it, it's about two gay hockey players who are closeted. Well, one's bisexual and one kind of realizes throughout this 11-year process, or the 11 years that the show takes, that he is gay. And it's really about coming forward and being who you truly are and even though that can cause a lot of backlash, it's like, how brave do you want to be? What does your courage look like? And that is something that I just found so beautiful. So if you haven't watched it yet, I would highly, highly recommend it. Chris was like, why are you watching this show again? I've actually watched it 3 times in total. I went and I watched it with my other friend, Chelsea. We watched it last weekend. And then I was like, okay, I actually have to give this up because I need to go to Heated Rivalry Anonymous right now. And coming from someone with an addiction background, I'm like, great, I've really got to stop this. So anyway, Heated Rivalry, that's my first recommendation. The second thing that I've been really thinking about is my relationship with excellence and my relationship with demanding excellence of myself. And this really came from watching the Taylor Swift documentary. I was not really a Taylor Swift fan until last year during the Eras tour. One of my really close friends, who's a bridesmaid of mine, she lives in Melbourne, her name's Lily. She texted me and she was like, what are you doing this weekend? Taylor Swift was in town for the Eras tour. And I was like, I don't know. Are we going to go see Taylor Swift? And Lily just got last minute tickets and we went, and it was just one of the most joyous nights of my life. I actually was just so overwhelmed at the concert. I was like sobbing because of just the girlhood and the power behind it. I think I probably did a podcast episode on that. So since then I've become a real Taylor Swift fan. Really was so interested when Life of a Showgirl came out, interested in the lore behind the music, listening to a lot of podcast episodes, breaking it down. So anyway, I watched a documentary over the holidays, and what I realized about Taylor, what was really apparent, was her absolute rigor and her just desire for excellence in how she pushes herself. And I think my relationship with excellence has been, it's been a bit interesting over the years because I used to push myself extremely hard in all areas. And then I burned out at 30, as most of you guys know. I didn't work for a year and a half. I was really like going under intensive trauma therapy as well, like really working on, PTSD and overcoming PTSD, which is now completely resolved, which is unbelievable. So when I started working back, when I started my business, I wasn't really capable of delivering things to an excellent level, nor like putting the pressure on myself for things to be excellent. And don't get me wrong, of course I delivered a fantastic service and my clients, got transformed in unbelievable ways. And I'm so proud of the work that I do because I really know if you come to me and if you struggle with self-esteem and self-doubt, but you are also highly ambitious and a high performer, like I know without a doubt I will change your fucking life. I have the methodology that's locked down. However, I wasn't necessarily holding myself and, the things I was doing in entrepreneurship to an extremely high standard because I just couldn't, because I was trying to get back into the workplace. I was trying to figure out also my relationship with work, my relationship with how I viewed my career, and that continues to be something ongoing, but I didn't have capacity to push myself because I also didn't want to burn out again. So I kind of really was like under the impression, or not under the impression, but my philosophy has really been just kind of like do things. Just do it. Things do not have to be excellent. The thing that matters most is that you are putting things out into the world. You're creating things, whether this be content, whether it be a podcast. I mean, my podcast, when I first started, like it was nowhere near the production that it is now. It was just like, whatever, like patch it, go, do 0 outtakes. Like you're putting things forward. And now what I realized after watching the Taylor Swift documentary was that I actually have the capacity to hold myself to a higher standard. And I want to. And I think as well, like my staff will see this. Like my assistant will have noticed a shift in the last couple of months. Even May, my podcast editor, shout out to May, you're listening to this right now. But even May, like the videos that we're putting out where I was like, you know what? I really want to take people on a journey, even with my podcast content. So you guys will have noticed that the video production quality has definitely upped. And me going back to my team and saying like, no, actually, like this needs to be better and this, and this way. Whereas before, I think I would have just said, you know what, it's good enough and let's just put it out. And now I'm realizing that I do have the capacity and I want to be known for this type of excellence in the industry. And that's really what I felt like I was known for before. And that was always my brand. But how do I change it and do it in a way that feels healthy, but it also feels like, well, this is actually who I am. This is part of my identity. I am a very excellent person in all areas. And actually not all areas at all, just like a slight few areas, which is like coaching, entrepreneurship. Hopefully my writing is going to be there. And yeah, that's pretty much it in the world. So it's an interesting thing to think about as well, but also to think about what do you actually have capacity for, and do you have capacity to give more? And I realize I feel really better now. My health is like the best it's been in years. I'm physically the strongest I've been in years, just because of a result of my workout routine and how I am able to really push myself harder in so many areas, but feel really good about it. That being said, I'm about to say a very contradictory statement right now, which there's also like things can live in the gray and things can be very black. Like things don't need to be black and white. But yesterday I was in my luteal phase of my hormonal cycle and I was feeling really tired, and I've had like a huge few weeks. I did a really big presentation with LinkedIn a few weeks ago. A lot of people booked in calls. You know, I have a lot of corporate presentations coming up. I launched a new cohort, putting out podcasts. There's just a lot going on in my business, which I feel really fortunate about because I've worked really hard to get it to this place that now it's, you know, there's a lot of growth happening right now and a lot of increased effort. So I was feeling just so exhausted, and I was at the gym and I was doing my warm up and I was like, oh my God, I just don't really know that I can actually do this workout right now. And it's been like over the past maybe 5 or 6 months, I've really been like lifting heavier and increasing my weights. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see I feel like I do look pretty buff in some of the videos I'm watching as well. I'm like, damn, girl, you're buff as fuck. So I was at the gym and I was like, you know what? I'm just feeling so tired right now. I don't really know that I can do this workout. And then I just thought, well, what if you just did the workout at 70%? And what if you just decrease the weight load? And so I just did a really light session. I completed the session, but I showed up even when I didn't really want to, because I know for me, like working out is such a non-negotiable for me. If I miss that workout, I have to make it up throughout the month. And my workout routine is like 3 heavy weightlifting sessions, 1 yoga session a week, and then walking 10,000 steps a day minimum. So if I miss a session in a week, I have to make it up the next week. But I really didn't want to. I don't even have capacity to do that next week. But I was just like really proud that I showed up even when I didn't want to, but I did it at a decreased capacity. So there is a bit of tension between what I just said about my relationship with excellence and just showing up. But I do believe that it is important just to show up. If you cannot be absolutely excellent at things, the importance of just showing up and doing it even when you're tired, if it's something that is super important and you've committed yourself to. One last thing that I did want to go over, and this is a really, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting thing about how I view the world. I met with like a business consultant on something very specific about my marketing. And I was trying to basically look at something in my brand positioning. I wanted some outside help on it. So I met with this consultant, and something that she told me was like, you're doing a lot of pain point marketing, which is a lot of what's the pain that people are experiencing. And then when I really think you should be doing attraction-based marketing. So looking at like where it is that people want to go and the success that you've seen with your clients and what are the transformations versus what's the struggle that they're in right now. And I really looked at all of my marketing and I was like, wow, I focus so much on the struggle. Also, I think just as someone that's experienced a high amount of trauma, I'm in recovery for addiction, like I'm almost so used to being in pain and seeing the world through a lens of pain versus a lens of possibility and a lens of transformation. And it just got me thinking about especially what I teach in level 2 of the life and work transformation, which level 2 is much more about like deeper mindset work. And what we do is we look at how do you call on your empowered parts or the parts of you that are quite good and strong and bold and courageous in order to get the things that you want in your life. And so when I think about level 2 as well, we focus a lot on also the reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that almost acts as a filtration system for how you see the world. So whether that be a good example of this is like if I say, don't think of a red car, you immediately think of a red car. So even if I say the word don't, like the brain doesn't register the don't. Or the brain just doesn't register. So when people always say what they don't want, like I don't want to be exhausted, or I don't want to be burned out, or I don't want to work for this boss, the only thing that your brain is hearing is exhausted, not working out, etc., or burnout, bad boss. So what you actually really want to do is focus on the things that you want more. And I've been thinking about that in my marketing because it's so easy for me to almost really resonate with the pain with people because I've also been in so much pain in my life. And I just got to thinking like, no, I actually want to resonate a lot more with what people want, the transformations that they've seen, especially because that's what I'm really fucking good at in my business, which is like changing people's basically entire operating system so that they can thrive in their career, but really in their life at a much higher level than they were when they came to see me. And whether that's becoming more confident, whether that's switching careers, whether that's even stepping back from their career to spend more time with their children or going into entrepreneurship, whatever it is that they want, I then work on their internal systems to help get them there. I've really been seeing this through the lens of what is it that I want and what is it that I want to attract? And like I've started focusing just away from the pain and more toward the transformation, but then also like really looking at how do I do this in my life as well? Am I over-indexing on what I don't want? Am I over-indexing on pain and really not looking at the goodness and the transformation and, my big fucking goals, my big fucking dreams? Like, am I really paying more attention to that? So that's kind of the last thing that I've been thinking about a lot. And you guys are going to be seeing some changes in the way that I'm showing up, the way that I'm marketing. And I'm really excited about that. I've got some masterclasses coming up that you guys are going to hear about. I have a challenge coming up in a few weeks. That's like get your next promotion in 90 days. It will be a 3-day live challenge. I'm so excited to just give the audience, what you guys really want, which is ultimately success, which is ultimately thriving in your career. That could look very different for different people, but that's really what I'm here to do. And, I love working with people that are highly ambitious. I love working with people that are top performers. That's so important to me to really be servicing this audience. So my big fucking dreamers, I hope you loved this episode. I will see you next week. And I hope you guys achieve your big fucking dreams.
Big fucking dream.